Come into a slide. Ooh, look at that lighting. Walking around with this snake light to like read to Camden and Cruz at bedtime. We'll get over here. Kind of like a nice lighting. I got my postpartum flyaways that are just like my style. Postpartum now. It's late tonight or early this morning. Either perspective is welcomed by me. It's 4. I've been in riding a party wave of momentum in launching the Aina that is Lahaina and sharing it and inviting other people to jump in with me if they feel called to. And right now, I think tonight I wanted to talk about us schooling. That's the term that resonated with me the most for the homeschooling journey, the world schooling journey, the teaching them journey, the them teaching me journey that we're on. And I do think there's a book in me about that too. Teaching and raising and learning from our children, us schooling, whether you're in the traditional, whether moms, dads, parents, and caregivers choose the traditional school environment, some type of hybrid, which are becoming more and more abundant in choice, or, a homeschool environment, like whether that's a co-op or you're doing it all yourself. And I definitely was one of those people that was like, I got to homeschool 1 year of my life in 5th grade and loved it. But I was never like in my dating life with JD and then in our early marriage and even in my early motherhood for the first, 4 or 5 years of her life wasn't like, oh yeah, we're going to homeschool. I always thought when we lived in Oahu, I considered what prestigious private school we could work toward her going to because she went to some good preschools, or we had this really great public school that was very mindfulness based and had all these great activities and went to the community garden, and all around the campus they had mantras of different mindfulness components. And I just liked that. Waikiki Elementary was close to where we lived. But as the pandemic came and we pivoted Camden from preschool, and Cruz has never been to preschool, I dove into homeschooling with them. And I had always done a parent-led preschool Hawaiian immersion, Tutu and Me. I was playing with this lighting. It's kind of fun. Actually, I have this lighting too. That is a lot darker. Need to get this clear. Success in here, but and I loved it. Like I always have loved reading to my babies and learning from them, and I feel like they're some of my greatest teachers. And the journey from me to believe in myself, as I always feel like parents are the experts in our own children. It's something that I said so many times clinically in my role as a pediatrician, and do continue to say and reiterate and empower parents with that knowledge. But my own journey to really indoctrinate myself with that, to really accept that wisdom and to really live that out every day, that I am the expert on my own child. And in no way do I erode from the value, expertise, and genius zone of teachers who are critical components of our society, and their education and their passion and their drive to follow the calling to be teachers. I am a product of the conventional education system. I went to a Catholic kindergarten, went to, I think, a Methodist preschool, Catholic kindergarten, a Presbyterian Christian based 1st to 4th grade, homeschooled in 5th grade, back to the Presbyterian Christian based middle school, and then went to a public high school, and then went to the University of Miami for 4 years and majored in neuroscience and pre-med. And then went to the University of Central Florida for my master's in mental health counseling with certificates in marriage and family therapy. I put myself through that, working in a restaurant and working in coaching soccer. And at Miami, I had a soccer scholarship and some other academic scholarships, and I played Division I soccer there for 4 years and got to be team captain my junior and senior seasons. I also pursued a master's in healthcare administration and did not graduate. I was one class shy of doing the practicum or internship experience. And I didn't complete that because I went on to medical school. And I also pursued a lifestyle medicine, love school over here, lifetime nerd, master's, but they discontinued the program while I was in the middle of it. And I was actually a teaching assistant for it and not teaching assistant, graduate assistant doing research. And then I went to medical school at Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine in Bradenton, like Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch, Florida. And then I did my residency training at Hawaii residency programs in pediatrics at Kapiolani Medical Center for Women and Children in Honolulu, followed by a year of fellowship training in sports medicine at the University of Hawaii, Manoa, and being a team doctor for the athletes at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. And so after all of that, I had my daughter Camden my third year of residency in 2016 at 32 and 33. I think no, 32. And then I had my son Cruz in July of 2019 and my third daughter and second daughter Cord in June of 2023. And now as a mama of three, I gleefully, joyfully step into the colorful chaos and messy magical of everyday life. And I've pivoted away from clinical medicine to be able to be in these moments and to be able to be their teacher and to be able to learn and have this insatiable quest for knowledge that I do feel and that I felt all through my journey educationally. And I still feel as a healer, as a physician. And this journey for me has been very expansive in that I've been able to validate myself, and I'm still working to release the limiting beliefs around it, that I can live into my calling as a healer. I can be the physician that I know I was called to be and utilize medicine as a vehicle to serve. And I can also choose to be in these moments. And for me, not miss them and be there and have the flexibility and the time and geographical freedom that I desire in my life and in our lives, in our ohana life. We're here on Maui. We're in the middle of some life pivots too, and some upcoming travel beyond the reef, and all of it aligns with our decision to us school. And I do use a curriculum that I adore called The Good and the Beautiful, which and then I also supplement with all these other things that for me is really fun. Like we're at the library all the time. We're in nature school. I feel like we're doing a lot of nature school. We do music Mondays, so I can share a piano with them, and we do chess Saturdays. And I learned to play chess in my 40s. And there's just constant like fort building and mayhem and imagination and invitations to drop into play and art and climbing and all of it. And they work out with me. And I love it. I truly can't imagine a different path for me and our family. And though the process has been fascinating, giving myself the permission to be their teacher, to feel like I'm credentialed. And I have deep desires. I'm reading a book right now called Becoming Homeschoolers by Monica Swanson, who's actually fellow Hawaii mama and decorated homeschool mama. And I've read another one, The Wild and Free. I think it was like the second Wild and Free book that she wrote, Ainsley Armit. And that was also pivotal to read. And there's lots of other mamas out there homeschooling that are kind of like, there's, I think, Sarah Molitor of the Modern Farmhouse Family. But I just love how she prays over people utilizing her social media platform to do that. And I know that we hold space for one another and that there's a community of mamas on the islands, beyond the reef, all over the world that are choosing to step into this beautiful chosen role of teacher. We are our children's teacher from birth. We believe this. This is what I think is so profound to me. We believe, and I see this clinically, we believe unquestionably that we are our children's teacher from birth till about 5, 6, whenever they enter into kindergarten age. And then we societally really, I would offer, subscribe to this potentially harmful narrative that we then need to hand them over to other people who are more qualified than us to teach them. And certainly teachers have incredible qualifications, and they have devoted their professional lives and careers to teaching children, and they do a phenomenal job at that, and they carry on their backs in our society a pivotal role, and I believe should be compensated and recognized and valued beyond what we currently offer them. I'm speaking for those parents who have the flexibility in their lives or desire the flexibility in their lives, that understanding the character of your children and the intricacies of who they are, you are the expert in them. And if teaching them at home for a season of their life, a year of their life, for the duration of their, educational journey until they're pivoting from under your roof is what you desire, then I think being wild about homeschooling and the way that it opens up so much freedom and fascination and curiosity for you is this, for me, it's been just an incredible, and it continues to be an incredible journey. I'm early in my journey I've done preschool and now pre-K with Cruz. And Camden, I did preschool and kindergarten, first grade, and now we're fully plunged into second grade. And I see those grades as a continuum now. Life is a constant learning, and it's been really interesting and cool in our marriage just to really think of everything we do as an educational opportunity. Like, it could be building fire in the backyard with JD, with dad. It could be gardening, cooking with me. Like, everything we do is an opportunity to teach and learn. And in medicine, we have a saying and adage that always resonated with me so much. It's watch one, do one, teach one, as like a pathway to mastery. And so, for example, when I was learning to do spinal taps on teeny tiny infants, lumbar taps, spinal taps, I mean, it wasn't quite the watch one, do one, teach one, but you watch some, and then I watched some, and I practiced on mannequins, and we have and I actually did a research project on this that I presented in Scotland, which was really cool. The mannequins in the ER and just teaching. And it's actually a very good skill I had and haven't had clinically. I feel like really gifted at the infant spinal taps, and it's not something I ever wanted to do because that means the babies are sick, but I feel like I was confident in it and very, very grateful that many of the times I was able to successfully aspirate or get the cerebrospinal fluid, which is what we're looking to get on those tests on the first try, so that the baby could and the parents could undergo the least amount of trauma. And truthfully, I was always very nervous, and understood the gravity and the heaviness of the situation and the grief that the parents were going through, that their tiny infant required this test in the first place. Usually it was in the setting of like fever in a newborn, or the baby just not acting quite normal. But anyway, back to watch one, do one, teach one. And that's kind of like one of the mantras that I have with them. And we also it's watch one, do one, teach one, right? So they watch and then they do. And it's just with homeschool, you can be hands-on so quickly, and honoring the kinesthetic learning, and allow them to major, if you will, in childhood, like 100% of the time. It'd be imaginary playing and moving their bodies and exploring the world and learning through all of the ways that they're trial and erring. And it's so gratifying to be a part of, and reinvigorates that inner child in me. So that's what us schooling is for us in this season. I was like, there was another thought and it flew in and flew out. Cruz always says it poofs away. And I used to be so like frustrated when thoughts poofed away, but now I just feel like they hover and then they just come back in a different way if they're meant to. But the watch one, do one, teach one. And then also they are so stoked to do school every day. Like, they're getting out their stuff. And now with Cruz more in a flow, like I used to be able to just really focus on Camden, but now I oftentimes have Cord who's crawling all over me and us, and finding ways to engage her age appropriately, and then kind of triaging Cruz and Camden at the same time and going back and forth between them. And it's fascinating how I am finding continually a flow, and there's just tweaks that go on all the time. And it's not perfect. We don't do the same thing every day, but there is like a moving structure, and I feel really grounded in so much grace and grit and gratitude for all of it, and getting to be part of their educational journey, that they trust me and that I also am being taught by them and learning from them every single day. And I just feel like the compass in my heart is firmly affixed in this direction of us schooling, homeschooling. And although I'll continue to evaluate it every year with JD, is like what aligns best for our family, our ohana core values. Like I don't envision it changing as in year 3 and it's gone on, I've become more and more um, I guess harmonized with this life and how we're choosing to live it, and grateful for all the resources out there and the ways that you know, I can continue to invest in other things that are important to her: dance, hula, and then for Cruz, he's loved Taekwondo. Um, and they both just, love riding bikes and scootering and climbing trees and going to the beach. And we can do surfing and free diving lessons and just whatever else, skateboarding lessons, whatever things are coming up. And I also, a huge component for me is like opting out of the urgency culture. For me, I lived many years of my life forcing the wake up and just needing to be at like top intellectual capacity within a very short period of time of waking up. And I did that and I performed, and um I honor that version of myself, and I continued that flow and that sort of pattern of living life with Camden in her early years. Like, okay, we got to get up. She had a nanny the first year of life to help while I was in the hospital working. And then it was like, okay, got to get up, get her to daycare. I got to get off to work. And then she ended up going to like a pretty prestigious preschool that was right behind the hospital, because I thought, okay, I'm going to work my career here at the hospital and at least she'll be close by. And that's a story to tell for another day, but of my pivot and unanticipated, but unanswered prayer, right? In what happened and how we deviated and landed here in Maui and in this path, and me speaking to being a homeschool mom. Um, But even here in Maui, when we first moved here, I plugged her right back into a preschool that was beautiful and loving. But it was the urgency culture. And I can remember, I don't, it's parts of it are cringeworthy, and also parts of it I honor that that's who we are. But I just remember we're at the moment in the most loving way that we felt at that chapter. And I also honor all parents. And I feel like all parents are doing their best to love their children in ways that feel right for them. And that is a core truth. But I can remember at age 3, just getting up and getting her to, she's still tired and we're trying to stuff some breakfast down her. And like, it's a negotiation to do the hair and the teeth and get the clothes on. And then, got to get to the drop off by 7:45, and we're rushing and we're running. Like I'm pushing a Bob stroller, and just like, yeah, right. Like the anxiety, and this is preschool. This is optional. This is something like, when it finally dawned on me, I was like, I can opt out of this. Like, is this really the flow that we want? And when I started really asking those questions and getting curious and playful about it and choosing to step out of that lane, that felt right for me and for our family. And really taking that inflammation out of the morning and out of our family routine and flow was really healing for me. I am not by nature circadian rhythm a morning person. I do love to see the sunset. I love God's painting the sky at sunset. I mean, sunrise and sunset, pun intended that I didn't say sunrise. And I performed very well in a hospital clinical setting, like getting there for shifts at 4 and 5 in the morning. And I could do that. And I did it in med school, and I did it many years, many decades. Um, Many early mornings, really, when I look back, like from high school performing, and then college, we had early morning weights, and then I had early morning pre-med classes. Um, and then all the way through like my master's and working, I worked a lot of morning shifts and lunches, opening up restaurants. And then in med school, like tons and tons of early mornings. And then in all the clinical years, to becoming a physician, tons of early mornings at the hospital. When you're low on the totem pole, you're getting there way before everybody to round on the patients. Um, so lots and lots of early mornings. I've done it, I've performed well there, but my natural like rhythm and where I feel the most comfortable and passionate and in my flow creatively and as a human being is not early mornings. And so when I finally gave myself the permission to like step off of that and be the best version of a mom and a wife and now a teacher, it was opting out of that urgency culture that um mandated that I be a morning person in that way, like getting her to preschool by 7:45 or whatever. And leaning into that truth and just starting to play with those kind of questions has been so liberating for me along this path and along this journey, and allowed me to really um, resonate and settle in on what are my gifts? How can I best be offering those to my family, to my children? Um, and then, like in writing books and all these other ways that I get to shine out because I'm able to harness my creative energy and it's there and I'm feeling nurtured in the ways that I'm living life. And I am a work in progress. I'm still learning. I'm forever going to be learning. I believe in being a lifelong learner. I believe in modeling lifelong learning for my children. I'm so stoked that they are as love libraries and books as much as me. And we at all times, mostly at all times, have like double-digit library books checked out. And then we have our own home library. And my very favorite baby shower was the first baby shower we had. And I mean, that's the only baby shower I think really had. But no, that's not true, but I've loved them all. But it was like a book baby shower, and I still have those that people gave me. And it's my dream that my books are given at people's baby showers and will be for years to come. The Dr. Nini books. But yeah, tonight was on my heart to talk about us schooling and what that means. And it means something different for us that it will for other moms, other families, other dads, other but there's just so many ways we're blessed to have to educate our children the way that children are educated the world over. It looks vastly different. Yet we all have that inborn desire to learn, to grow, to be curious, to play. And how can we get teachers, mentors, um, inspirational figures in front of our children to continue to lead and be leaders and to uncover their gifts and how best they can serve humanity, and how they can resonate with the saying, like, if you're too small, if you're too big to serve, you're too small to lead. And one of the ways I'm leading in our home is by serving every day as their teacher. And I love that. I cherish it. I treasure it. I'm so grateful that they look to me um, to teach them every day. And to do that, I'm continuing to invest in myself as a teacher and as an educator, um, pull from my experiences in life and as a healer and as a physician and as a counselor and a play therapist and all the ways that I have worked with children and now get to work with my own, but also looking to those who have paved the path before me as homeschool moms and educators. And also I have many friends that are teachers and I'm constantly fascinated by the conversations I have with them. And I always felt a lot of commonality with teachers, being a pediatrician, that we both have these chosen arduous paths, working with children and parents, and trying to optimize the lives of these brilliant, brilliant young teachers and inspirational forces in our world and among us. And I think there's very similar motivations in choosing the path of teaching and I mean, what I mean by teaching like younger children and being a pediatrician, I think that there's similar motivating factors and maybe perhaps personality traits that go into that. Yeah, so I can't wait to download more of my journey and how I've landed here and how I'm nourishing myself to continue to feel really resolute and excited and grounded and floored. And I'm still fascinated sometimes. I'm like, I'm a homeschool mom, like I am. And I see the homeschool moms around me and what they're doing and how it's different. And I no longer like I'm just really stoked for all the moms that homeschool, and I think it looks so vastly different. I have a homeschool mom in the neighborhood that I talk to frequently, and our Keiki are really good, really close, and her homeschool journey looks vastly different from mine. And I celebrate hers, and she celebrates mine, and it's as unique as the culture and fabric of one family to the next, one child to the next. And as the experts on our children, I think it's so important that we look closely at the potentially harmful narrative that is when a child becomes school age, that you must then hand them off to people that are more qualified than you, and that, your days with them at home have come to a close. And is that really, does that resonate with you? Is that true? Does that feel aligned with what you had hoped for? Do you want it to look different? Do you want to have more time with your children? Do you want to have more flexibility in your life? There are some schools that can offer this too, and perhaps even our traditional education system can begin to offer more flexibility as well. Things are changing, evolving. Um, and many schools have very good partnerships between parents and teachers and caregivers, that work very well. Um, I what I do grieve is that in some instances that I see in moms and close friends, where the children are at school and you feel like you're kind of always playing catch up, trying to download from the teacher who's very busy with often dozens of children, to find out like who is my child at school? Are they, does that align with who they are at home? Are we seeing two different versions of this individual? How can we harmonize them? And then from the subjective opinions of the teachers and those who are in the educational system, what's going on with the child? And I like oftentimes that align, but sometimes it's mismatched. And so for me, as like a healer and a pediatrician, it does grieve me when um yeah, there's maybe like a mismatch there and the child is misunderstood, right? Because the whole point is we want to validate the whole person, like the spiritual, the cognitive, the, the mental, the social, the empathic, the all of these pieces that are evolving in this fascinating human. And we want to get people behind them that encourage them, celebrate them, challenge them. And we want that to be aligned. And many times it is, but sometimes it isn't. And I think that a lot of times that's the product of also commonality between pediatricians and teachers, is that we work in really challenging systems where we're oftentimes overwhelmed and we're surviving on lack of resources, lack of sleep, and the ratios which are not sustainable. And I see that in a lot of classrooms, and I've lived that clinically. And so from that, where I'm going is that children can, especially children that may be behaviorally not as they may be not as loud, or they may not be standing out as much, they can get kind of like lost in the mix. And um yeah, so I desire for all children to feel like loved, as all humans, loved and validated and understood. And that's something that we have a deep desire for from early childhood on, right? And you get in the comfort of your own home. Most children, I pray that all children do. um but how can we, as they come of school age, and really, like, what is school age? You're always learning, right? You're teaching your children, we're reading to them from infancy and on. And what is it that we feel like we can't continue to learn along that path? And what is it that we feel like we might? I think a lot of us, for parents and moms, it's like we don't want to harm them. And in medicine, we have that adage, the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. And so a lot of times they are sent to school because we feel this deep seated fear that we will harm them, by educating them at home, that they will be weird, they won't be socialized, we won't understand what's age appropriate to teach them, will be missing the boat, and they'll be behind and not able to catch up, or like whatever it is that we're harboring. And I'm sure all homeschool moms have entertained these myths and learned to release these limiting beliefs. I know I have at various points. But isn't it fascinating to start bringing these issues to the table? And oftentimes with fear, as I with my clients in counseling, and with the moms I work with in Mama Mindset, and with myself, and in the homeschooling journey, it's like speaking those fears into existence oftentimes releases some of the power they once held over us. And I know I no longer subscribe to any of those fears, although they once for sure had a hold on me, or um, in hovering around in there. So yeah, this felt fun to come on and just download about and talk about. And I do think and feel that there is a book in me about my path to schooling, and inviting parents, and caregivers and moms on that journey with me, and also whatever it may look like for them, and all the ways that I feel aligned too with teachers in the elementary, middle school, and high school, even college, as I worked with clinically and as a healer, as a pediatrician, as a sports medicine physician. So yeah, I think there's something there. I know there's something there to talk about schooling, what that can look like, all the different ways that can look like, and how I feel like I'm uniquely kind of not straddling, um, but like have lived in both of those worlds and understand it and validate both of them. And I'm paving my own path that feels right as I go. So, aloha to teachers, aloha to homeschool moms, aloha to myself, and what a world.